So, one of the best chapters in Wano just happened. One Piece chapter 990, and I think it was fitting to talk about the major talking point from that chapter, the 1% and what it actually means. It could be a wide range of people. I think I've settled on one person, and of course I'll reveal that towards the end, but we're gonna go through and talk about different characters and 1%, what it could actually mean. But I guess at first we have to look at that dialogue between Hawkins and X Drake and try to discern exactly what Hawkins was trying to do here. Because Hawkins, we know he operates based on percentage and chances to live, etc. That's the only reason why he joined Kaido, because the percentage to live was higher by joining him as opposed to going against him at that time. I think it was 40% to live, the chances to live if he joined Kaido. And that's what X Drake was trying to prey upon. But what does it really mean? My perception of X Drake in regards to IQ and just smarts, I view him very highly, right? I think in general, from what he showed in Sabaody and throughout the story, he thinks through things. Even in this chapter, we saw X Drake thinking through his options, what would be best. Of course, like I mentioned in my review, his convictions, it trumped all. So he was actually willing to remain in Onigashima, remain in Wano, and risk an identity reveal, right? Because at this point, he's risking it all by going and fighting with Luffy and the others. Wherein, if he just left Wano at that time, his identity would still be intact. But I think obviously by the end of Wano, everyone will know, or mostly the Straw Hats, they'll know that X Drake is a sword member, or X Drake is a member of the Marines. I think so, right? I don't think he remains a pirate past Wano. I think after Wano, after he accomplishes his goal, whatever sword sent him to do, I think he'll be viewed as an actual Marine going forward. Reasons, I just think it makes sense, and we'll talk a bit more about it later. But I guess let's get back to the 1%. When X Drake was trying to urge Hawkins to betray the Beast Pirates, of course, that would be viewed as weird, because why are you, a Toby Roppo, trying to convince, a headliner to betray them? Of course, it's a lot of chaos going on, but what's going on with you, right? And for Hawkins, immediately after, he mentions a certain man's chances of survival until tomorrow is at 1%. Okay, so that led to a lot of speculation, right? Personally, the first person I thought about was Law. The reason why Law immediately came to my mind was just due to the speculation and theories that's been floating around the community, right? After hearing about Law's ageless surgery, right? Where Doflamingo was trying to urge Corazon to do that to him so he can be, immortal, or rather ageless. You always wondered if it would ever be a thing. So for Law, a lot of people speculated that because it was mentioned back then, and Law being in Wano, and also who Luffy was going against in 2 Yonko, we felt like the situation would be so dire that Law at some point would have to use this ageless surgery to somehow either bring back Luffy or actually help him survive. Now, we're not sure exactly how it would work, because if Luffy is actually ageless, it would affect the story greatly, I think. So how it would have to be used is that Law uses that power, but not to the fullest extent. Maybe he brings Luffy back because Luffy is on the brink of dying, and because Law is at 1% himself, then therefore you can't use the fullest extent of the ageless surgery. And Law's fruit is weird in this way because it uses lifespan. But if you don't have a lot to draw from, can you use the full capabilities of that power? So it's really vague exactly how it could work, but that was a theory going around in regards to why Law could actually die here. It was scary because I don't want Law to die, and I'm not sure how Oda would set it up for Law to die, but I know it would hurt me a lot if Law died here. Law is one of my favorite characters. I've said that numerous times. I think he's gotten a shaft a little bit, starting in Dressrosa, where I think he should have been the one to finish Doflamingo. Even if Luffy got hits in, I think Law should have been the one to actually land the finishing blow on Doflamingo, which in a way you thought Gamma Knife was when you were reading it. But since then, I guess based on portrayal and overall end game potential, I think he's on a level lower than Luffy. And he's around Zoro, and Zoro every single chapter continues to outpace him. And it makes sense because they're the main characters, but as I've stated numerous times again, I like rivalries. I like people competing with Luffy to make their journey more difficult, to make it more entertaining, but for Luffy to go through really arduous things so that once he gets to that summit, the gratification of him accomplishing that will be a lot greater to me personally. That's just a personal opinion I have. So that's why I root for Law. That's why I root for Kid. I mean, Blackbeard, that's a definite, but that's part of the reason why I root for some of these other characters, just because I want competition for Luffy. So the 1%, Law could be that guy, that man, but I don't think it's him. And this is mostly going to center around the Supernovas. At this point, they're just at the forefront, right? It's just about them, X Drake, Law, Luffy, Zoro, Killer. I think this arc and the outcome is going to be hugely impacted by the actions or the decisions of the Supernova. Say Capone, right? Say he decides to go to Wano. That's a huge impact. Uruj, if he decides to go to Wano, huge impact. Eustace Kid, for example, he's already made the decision to work with Luffy and the others. So things like that, they're going to continuously impact the end game of Wano. So for Law, if he is the 1% guy, I could see him in death before he dies using something to help Luffy overcome Kaido, right? I could absolutely see that. Now for Kid. I don't think it's Kid. I think Kid, based on this arc and how things have been built up, the relevance just isn't there. I think in Wano so far, what's clear is that Kid is going to be a nuisance for Luffy, but realistically, he can't compete. Not many people can. So a significant moment like this being about Eustace Captain Kid actually wouldn't make sense to me, right? Just based off of things that's happened so far in Wano, in which Kid still really hasn't done anything, right? And we're more than halfway through the arc, so I don't know, I guess we'll see, but to me, I don't think it's about Eustace Kid. Now, there was a lot of speculation that it could be about X Drake. I think that was dispelled with the official translation mostly, because in the scans, it was kind of implied that that man could be X Drake, and then Queen kind of played off that to tell X Drake the man that they wanted to kill was him. In the official, it makes it a lot clear that what Queen said back then in chapter 980, you know, there's somebody I really want to kill. It was X Drake. He knew already about X Drake. Who Hawkins was talking about, I don't think X Drake even knew, right? I think X Drake was just, man, I feel sorry for that person. I think Hawkins was just babbling, right? Just telling people percentages. I think that's his quirk. Can you imagine how annoying it would be having Hawkins around? Like, yo, you have about a 30% chance to pass this test, even if you study. Like, bro, get the hell out of here. Hawkins, he mentions this a lot, right? Even in Sabaody, when we got introduced to him, he talked about his chances of survival after Kizaru pulled up. He talked about Luffy's chances. So in this instance, I don't think it's about X Drake. X Drake, I think, absolutely survives Wano. This is something, right? Depending on how significant X Drake's role is here, Oda may be shifting this paradigm from Smoker to X Drake, and he may be not the person chasing Luffy, but his trajectory is actually going up in regards to importance towards the end game of the story. I could see this moment taking down Big Mom and Kaido. Like, if Big Mom actually falls here, Kaido actually falls here, which more than likely they will. X Drake helps Luffy take out another Yonko. Again, we don't know what his goal is, but it could be eerily similar to God's Valley, in which Garp and Roger, they allied to take down, you know, the Rocks Pirates. In this instance, it's almost like X Drake is living through Kobe. So we could say, well, X Drake in this moment, he's doing something Kobe would do if he was here. So therefore, in the future, X Drake is not going to be as relevant. Kobe will just take on the mantle of being that person for Luffy. Because of course, for Kobe, he idolizes Luffy. Honestly, it's gotten to that point where he really loves Luffy and he appreciates Luffy as a person, but he doesn't agree with his actions. So X Drake may be somebody that could be thrown into the fold in regards to, I mentioned in my analysis. At this point, and it could increase as the arc goes on, X Drake could be one of the significant Marines going forward in the story. Like in the epilogue or something, I could definitely see X Drake becoming one of the admirals. I don't think Smoker ever becomes an admiral. He would always want to retain that freedom. He's more like Garp, in my opinion, and he would like to always be able to move around. So I don't see that for him. But in regards to the 1%, I think based on the dialogue that was introduced, especially in the official translation, Hawkins was just talking about somebody else. The somebody else I think Hawkins was talking about was Luffy. The reason why I think it's Luffy is because immediately after X Drake said to Hawkins, hey, if you want to betray them, I think the time is now, Hawkins said, you're trying to urge me to betray them? That's laughable. And then he goes into, hey, there's a certain man that by tomorrow morning, he would be at 1%. People are going to go back to what Hawkins said about Luffy, where he had a 19% chance of surviving, and that was a month from that point. So I would say this, it's not like percentages can't change. We don't know exactly how the future works in regards to Hawkins' premonitions, but based on different actions, predictions could change, right? Based on who joins, who doesn't join, or people who betray, it could change the actual number that Hawkins was seeing. And another reason why I think it could definitely be Luffy is based on what Hawkins said at Marineford around the Marineford arc, is that every time he tried to predict Luffy's rate of survival, it never went to 0%. So for Luffy, it makes sense that it goes to 1% because it never goes to 0. And for Hawkins, I think he's waiting for that last moment where he sees another miracle. Then he's like, you know what? I'm on your side now. I think that's what he's waiting for, because ultimately we all believe, well, most of us believe, that Hawkins flips, right? And so the X Drake comment telling him to switch sides, the time would be now, doesn't really work for Hawkins because of how he operates, where I think he's waiting for another moment where it's solidified, okay, now I'm working with the Straw Hats. So I think X Drake was just a stray in this thing, where most of it is just playing the numbers. That's what Hawkins is doing. So based on what Hawkins said, based on the past, based on who Luffy is, based on what Hyogura said, I think Luffy gets battered here, right? I think it gets to a point where Luffy gets really beaten up, but then he gets aided by the people around him. Could be Law, could be X Drake, could be Hawkins, right? Because Hawkins does have that card that he could use, and maybe that's the moment he's waiting for. When Luffy gets to 1%, he uses that card, maybe Law does something else, Luffy comes back way stronger than he was before. But guys, honestly, give me your thoughts. What do you think this 1% refers to? Like I said, X Drake, I think he survives way past Wano. Kid, I don't think he's relevant enough for it to be about him. Law, definitely could be a possibility. Luffy, more than likely, that's what we're talking about. It's Luffy's story. He's gonna be the Pirate King. I think this is building Luffy's legend. Like, say Luffy gets to a point where he's on the brink of death, and then he comes back and defeats a Yonko. People aren't gonna tell them that X Drake helped him, Law helped him, Kid helped him. It's gonna say that Luffy overcame Kaido pretty much on his own with the help of his crew. And if they mention other people, it's gonna be to the benefit of Luffy, because Luffy, he has that power where he had rivals actually helping him, other members of the worst generation acknowledging that he's that guy, and so therefore his threat level would just go through the roof. And the bounty increase past Wano, we know it's going to be astronomical, especially if Big Mom and Kaido fall. 2 billion easy. Obviously we may be touching 3, but I think at that point as well, maybe Blackbeard gets another bounty increase. But it's crazy because Luffy has to meet Shanks again, and I don't see Blackbeard getting another significant increase unless he does something to another Yonko. But if Blackbeard does find something like an ancient weapon, and Blackbeard does, say Blackbeard has 2 of them or something weird like that, then you'd have to increase his bounty, because this man just became more dangerous. So maybe that's the thing. Blackbeard finds an ancient weapon, Luffy defeats a Yonko, so they both get an increase, because I don't think Luffy will ever pass Blackbeard that arbitrarily. So we gotta wait and see. But guys, give me your thoughts. How do you feel about it? Who's the 1% about? The Supernovas past Wano, what decisions do you think they're going to make? People are going to say, well, you didn't talk about Apoo. I don't think Apoo is that relevant in this situation, and we don't have enough to know exactly what Apoo is going to do. So I don't want to speculate on Apoo just yet. Maybe once he does something, then we can try to figure out exactly what he does. I think Zoro and Killer, obviously they follow whatever their captains do, so it's no point in actually speculating that. The other Supernova, once they come to Wano, if they come to Wano, then we can kind of get into that. But make sure to like the video if you did. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Follow me on Twitter at BrogODAce. Follow me on Instagram at BrogD.Ace. Thank you to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Don't forget to like, that helps the algorithm. Subscribe, that obviously helps even more. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.